Let me tell you about the day I realized I was thinking about money completely backwards. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was standing in line at a coffee shop about to spend $4.50 on a latte. And in that exact moment, I had this thought that probably sounds familiar to you. I really shouldn't buy this. This is why I'm not getting ahead. But here's what's crazy. That same morning, I watched a millionaire I know spend $200 on a fancy dinner reservation without even blinking. And it hit me. The difference between wealthy people and everyone else isn't about the coffee. It's something much deeper that nobody talks about. So I did something extreme. For an entire year, I tracked every single dollar I spent and every single dollar I earned. Every coffee, every subscription, every impulse purchase. Everything. But I also interviewed 47 people who had built serious wealth, and I asked them to show me their spending patterns too. What I discovered changed everything I thought I knew about money. And by the end of this video, you're going to see why most financial advice you've heard is actually keeping you broke. Here's what we're all taught about getting rich. Spend less, save more, cut out the lattes, cancel the subscriptions, live below your means. And look, that advice isn't wrong exactly, but it's incomplete. And that incomplete picture is the reason why people can follow all the rules, track every penny, deny themselves small pleasures, and still end up in the exact same place financially year after year. During my tracking experiment, I noticed something fascinating. On January 15th, I spent $12 on lunch. I felt guilty about it. On February 3rd, I bought a $30 book. Felt guilty. March 22nd, $15 movie ticket. Guilty again. I was stuck in this constant cycle of spending money, feeling bad about it, promising to do better, and then repeating the whole thing. Meanwhile, I talked to Sarah, a real estate investor who's worth about $3 million. And you know what she told me? Last month, she spent $400 on concert tickets without thinking twice. She eats out 4 times a week. She has subscriptions to services she barely uses. And she's getting wealthier every single year. That doesn't make sense, right? How can someone who spends freely get richer, while someone who obsesses over every purchase stays stuck? This is where most people get confused. They look at that situation and think, well, she can afford it because she's already rich. But that's backwards. The wealth came first, yes, but the mindset came even before that. After 365 days of tracking and analyzing, I found the pattern. And it all comes down to one core difference in how rich people and broke people categorize money. Most people put every dollar into one giant bucket called my money. A dollar is a dollar is a dollar. Whether it's going toward rent, coffee, or investing, it all feels the same. It's just money leaving your account. But wealthy people, they see money in completely different categories. And once you understand these categories, everything changes. Let me explain this with a story. Imagine 2 people, Alex and Jordan, both making $60,000 a year. On the surface, they're identical. Same income, same age, same city. Alex looks at that $60,000 as their money. After taxes, they have about $45,000 to work with. Every time they spend anything, every time $50 leaves their account, it feels like they're losing. Their brain says, that's my money disappearing. So Alex becomes obsessed with preservation. How do I keep as much of my money as possible? They cut back on everything, they feel guilty about small purchases, they save aggressively. And after a year, they've managed to save $10,000. They feel good about it. That's discipline, right? Jordan makes the same $60,000. But here's what Jordan does differently. They immediately split that money into categories the moment it arrives.
First category, survival money. This is rent, groceries, utilities, basic transportation, the non-negotiables. Jordan calculates this at about $2,500 a month, or $30,000 a year. Second category, investment money. Before anything else, Jordan takes $500 every month and puts it into investments. Index funds, retirement accounts, maybe a small business on the side. That's $6,000 a year that gets categorized as future money. Third category, quality of life money. This is the part most people don't understand. Jordan sets aside $800 a month for things that make life actually worth living. Nice dinners, hobbies, experiences, that concert Sarah went to. This money isn't tracked obsessively because it's already been allocated and approved. Fourth category, education money. $200 a month goes toward learning. Books, courses, certifications, networking events, anything that builds skills or knowledge. What's left over? That's buffer money for unexpected expenses and additional savings.
Now here's what's fascinating. At the end of year 1, Alex has $10,000 saved but feels stressed and deprived. Jordan has $6,000 invested, has learned new skills, has amazing memories from experiences, and feels abundant. But here's where it gets really interesting. By year 5, Alex still has that same mindset. They've saved maybe $50,000 total, sitting in a savings account earning almost nothing. They're proud of their discipline, but they're also burned out. They still feel broke because every dollar spent still feels like a loss. Jordan, on the other hand, has something different. That $500 a month invested for 5 years with compound growth is now worth around $35,000. The $200 monthly education investment helped them learn skills that got them a promotion. They're now making $80,000 a year. And because they kept investing in quality of life, they never burned out or felt deprived. This is the pattern I saw over and over again.
The wealthy people I studied all understood something that changed my entire perspective on money. They understood that a dollar today has different jobs, and treating all dollars the same is actually a form of poverty thinking. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you're broke or struggling, every dollar matters the same way because you need every single one just to survive. You can't afford to think about money in categories because you're in triage mode. A dollar that goes to coffee is literally a dollar that can't go to rent. But here's the trap. Most people keep that scarcity mindset even after they're no longer in survival mode. They make $50,000, $60,000, even $100,000 a year, and they still treat money like they're one purchase away from being homeless. I found this pattern with almost everyone I talked to who was stuck financially. They could tell me exactly how much they spent on groceries last month. They knew their coffee budget down to the penny. They felt guilty about every non-essential purchase. But ask them how much they invested last month? Blank stare. Ask them how much they spent on learning something new? Nothing. Ask them how much they allocated to experiences that made them happy? They look at you like you're crazy. The wealthy people did the exact opposite. Almost none of them could tell me how much they spent on daily expenses, but every single one of them knew exactly how much they invested, exactly how much they spent on education, exactly how much went into their business or side projects.
One guy I interviewed, Marcus, worth about $5 million, told me something I'll never forget. He said, "I don't budget my coffee money. That's a $5 decision. I budget my investment money and my learning money. Those are $50,000 decisions. I'd rather make one good $50,000 decision than 1,000 perfect $5 decisions." That hit me like a truck. Here's what I realized. The real difference isn't that wealthy people spend less. Many of them spend more. The difference is they've automated and categorized the important financial decisions, so they never have to think about the small ones. They set up automatic investments that happen before they can touch the money. They allocate a percentage to learning and growth, non-negotiable. They budget for quality of life because they understand that feeling deprived leads to burnout and stupid decisions. And here's the psychological insight that changed everything for me. Guilt about small purchases doesn't make you richer. It just makes you miserable. I spent the first 6 months of my tracking experiment feeling guilty about a $4 coffee while doing nothing to actually build wealth. The guilt didn't create wealth. It just created stress. Meanwhile, the wealthy people I studied didn't feel guilty about spending money on things they'd already categorized and budgeted for. They felt guilty about only one thing, not investing enough in their future.
So what does this actually mean for you? After tracking for 365 days and interviewing dozens of wealthy people, here's the system that actually works. First, stop tracking every single expense like your financial life depends on it. It doesn't. What matters is that you've made the big decisions correctly. Instead, do this. Calculate your survival number. What does it actually cost you to live every month? Rent, basic food, utilities, transportation, insurance. Not the fancy version, the survival version. For most people, this is less than they think. Second, before you do anything else, set up automatic investing. If you're starting out, even $100 a month matters. The amount is less important than the automation. This money needs to disappear before you can spend it on anything else. This is your future you money, and future you is going to be incredibly grateful. Third, create a guilt-free spending category. This is money you're allowed to spend on life without tracking, without guilt, without shame. Maybe it's $200 a month. Maybe it's $500. Maybe it's more. But it's allocated, it's approved, and when you spend it, you don't think twice. This is what keeps you from burning out and making desperate decisions later. Fourth, invest in yourself with the same seriousness you invest in the market. Books, courses, skills, networking, experiences that teach you something.
Wealthy people understand that the best investment is often the one that increases your ability to earn more.
Fifth, and this is crucial, stop feeling guilty about small purchases that fit within your categories. That $5 coffee isn't why you're not rich. The reason you're not rich is because you're spending mental energy on $5 decisions instead of $5,000 decisions. Here's what happened when I implemented this system myself. I stopped tracking every coffee and started tracking my investment rate. I set up automatic transfers to my brokerage account, $600 a month, every month, no matter what. I gave myself $400 a month for guilt-free spending on whatever made me happy. I allocated $150 a month to learning. And you know what happened? In the first year, I actually spent more money on daily life than before. But I also invested more, learned more, and most importantly, I stopped feeling broke, even though I was building wealth. The stress disappeared, the guilt disappeared, and the wealth started appearing.
Here's the final insight that took me 365 days to fully understand. Being rich isn't about spending less money, it's about spending money on the right categories in the right order. Poor people spend first and invest what's left, which is usually nothing. Middle-class people save first and invest what's left, which builds slowly. Wealthy people invest first, allocate second, and spend what's left without guilt. It's not about the coffee. It never was. It's about understanding that the $5 you spend today on something that brings you joy isn't your enemy. Your enemy is the $500 you didn't invest, the $200 you didn't spend on learning, the experiences you denied yourself that would have kept you motivated and moving forward. After tracking every dollar for a year, I can tell you with absolute certainty, the path to wealth isn't paved with denied lattes and budget spreadsheets. It's paved with automated investments, continuous learning, and the psychological freedom that comes from knowing you've already made the decisions that matter.
So stop tracking the small stuff. Start automating the big stuff and give yourself permission to enjoy the journey, because wealth that makes you miserable isn't wealth at all. The wealthy people I studied weren't just richer. They were happier, less stressed, and more generous. And it all started with understanding this one simple truth. Not all dollars are created equal. Some build your future, some build your present. And the secret is knowing which is which. That's what 365 days of tracking taught me, and that's what can change everything for you too.